Deputy Minister, Excellencies, colleagues and friends. Once again, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming you to the International Symposium on Czech Foreign Policy, organized jointly by the Institute of International Relations, Prague, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic. This is the 11th year that we convened this symposium, 11th. That means that when we started, you would hardly find an international issue that would be subject to substantial public debate, well, perhaps one or two. Tempora mutantur, and today a keen sense obtains, whether we like it or not, that what occurs outside our borders profoundly impacts our present and future, which few look forward to, and some even seem to have dispensed with or cancel it altogether. The debate on how to position ourselves toward this outside extends between the poles of engagement and enclosure, that is, between the belief that we'd better care of only that part of the world, as the late Václav Havel said, that begins and ends with our backyard fence, and insulate ourselves from the forbidding elements out there. Or, conversely, that horizons of our action should reach even all those wide circles of home, our continent, our planet and its biosphere, and the near space for which humans are about to set off. It is a debate that is difficult to be had due to the challenge that some, perhaps too gloomily, term post-factuality. It really seems more of democratic ontology. That means, as Salman Rushdie put it, that the breakdown of agreement about reality, agreement imposed by the social elite, one might add, is now the most significant reality of all. This rupture, on one hand representing a release from the ideological bind, only to result, on the other hand, in a haywire wandering in search of new seductive certainties, means, as the French philosopher Bruno Latour suggests, the loss of common world where we could live and disagree. Think of the politics of climate change. Climate Summit starts today in New York, I believe. As the sun sets over this common world, salvaging dialogue, the true heritage of our civilization, polyphonic rather than monolithic, yet based on fundamental openness to the other and to pushing the horizons of our situated knowledge, is paramount. That is why, then and now, and perhaps now even more than a decade ago, when international and politics were rather insulated, the space open for such dialogue created by the symposium matters. The world will need to be restored, to borrow a phrase from Henry Kissinger's historical study of diplomatic efforts at the Congress of Vienna, at preventing turmoil akin to the cause by the French Revolutionary War and Napoleon Bonaparte's bid for hegemony. It will hardly be through a cooperative great power condominium or the concert, however, as devised by Henry Kissinger's hero, Count Metternich. This leads me rather conveniently to the topic of this year's symposium, multilateralism. No longer is multilateralism the bedrock of liberal order that for a time was the hegemonic order. Like every social order, the liberal order was imagined. It depended on collective reproduction by practice. In the increasingly fragmented multipolarism that features separate pluriversas, not only of ideas, but very fundamental ontological truths organizing our social life, multilateralism recedes as the organizing principle of conduct in international politics. It is an idea, it is a contested idea. It is an idea that deserves to be protected. To meet the challenges of today, from upholding the basic norms of international society, to facilitating effective and prudent collective action on climate change, preventing severe disruptions in global trade, or taking further steps toward erasing inequalities and creating opportunities for societies of the global south to realize their potential. It is an idea that deserves to be fostered to meet the challenges of tomorrow, above all the transformational effects on social life of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, or those that will propel humans toward other planets and perhaps even stars. In the conditions of ever more complex, connected but also politically fragmented human web, with major challenges ahead. Protecting and fostering multilateralism to achieve such ends is no more, no less than a realist utopia, a progressive realpolitik. As such, it's worth it to be embraced in particular by smaller states in international society, for whom international politics based on respect to rules and fundamental liberal norms of sovereign equality and self-determination with global governance that facilitates collective and participatory action is the core national interest. Now, to engage in a discussion on how to make the world a little bit better tomorrow than it is today through multilateralism is the task we've taken on ourselves. It's not an easy one, and so let me wish you all to engage in a productive and enjoyable and therefore true dialogue. Let me also thank all our partners without whom this conference would not be possible. Above all, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, to whose distinguished representative, Deputy Foreign Minister Aleš Chmelař, I now have the pleasure to pass the floor. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Director, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I would like to welcome you at the premises of the Czernin Palace. For most of you, this is not the first time that you're here, of course. And I have to say that this palace is not just a historical and administrative building. It is also a place where not just policy is made and decided and executed, it is also a place where ideas meet policy and where they interact. And in this respect, it is also a big pleasure for myself as a former researcher and analyst to be here to welcome you and also to wish you a lot of energy into the overall debate when policies mix with ideas. And I know that it can be hard, especially in today's world, that how we determine actually the course of the policy and how we can already, I mean, what is already difficult is actually to describe what is happening at the very moment. I'm also glad together with the Institute of International Relations we can cultivate the debate with you, with experts, researchers and other professionals. And especially this year because we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Velvet Revolution, and this year we also commemorate the 20th anniversary of our accession to NATO and 15th anniversary of our accession to the EU. Overall, it means that 2/3 of our time after the Velvet Revolution we have spent in a Euro-Atlantic club, and half of this time we have spent inside the European Union. For the Czech Republic, it is also, therefore, a very important moment for reflection, and I believe that also this 11th symposium will contribute to this debate. One very key topic that you will be discussing today, of course, multilateralism. It is something that is also fundamentally at the basis of our foreign policy, which sometimes we tend to call our survival strategy. But in reality, for countries of a medium size, of countries which are not powers or superpowers, to abide to rules and to multilateralism is not just a vice, it is not just a virtue, sorry. It is indeed a necessity, it is pragmatism that leads us there. And as a byproduct of this pragmatism for smaller states, it is also a strategy which is the most prone to bring peace, stability into the world of foreign policy and of geopolitics. And in this respect, the other side of the same coin, on one side multilateralism, is of course the rule of law, which I think indeed is just the other side of the same coin. It is basically and intrinsically a very similar thing. It is an imperative for the proper functioning of multilateral relations. The rule of law, not only in international context, but also within individual nation state, is something that brings the success of multilateral order. Indeed, in this respect, we are at a time when many deflect the international equilibrium as it was created maybe after the Second World War, maybe also later after the fall of the Bretton Woods system. But some state or private actors unequivocally now today deny the rule of law by their actions, even though they verbally defend their innocence. And indeed something is happening, the equilibrium is changing. The post-World War order is is put under a lot of strains and under a lot of questioning. So indeed, we are most probably moving towards a new equilibrium. And what we have to ensure as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as researchers in international relations, is that this transition from one equilibrium to another is peaceful. In most cases in history, be it basically from the Westphalian order and later and even before, every major change of equilibrium went through hard conflicts, sometimes world wars. But it was bloody and it was disruptive also for usual lives, let's say, for economic activity, for social activity, for culture. And it is our role to ensure that if indeed we identify that there is a new equilibrium towards which the world is moving, it is our duty, our common duty, to ensure that this transition is peaceful and that it's not disruptive. So in this respect, I would like to underline one important element, which is an underpinning of both the rule of law and of multilateralism, and it is trust. It is something that we have tried to cultivate inside the European Union that was under strain throughout many crises that we went through, starting with the economic one, continuing with one of migration, maybe of asylum, now a climate crisis. And we have to build and ensure that trust is indeed something that is not just, again, as a moral value, but something intrinsic which underpins our understanding and the capacity of function in a rule-based order. So indeed, rules and trust are two elements, I think, that we have to find new ways how to strengthen them and how to make them the main tools of our transition to the potential new equilibrium of world policies. And in this respect, we have to really think very thoroughly how the world functions, what are the new, let's say, elements that already Director Ditrych has mentioned, the much higher interaction of internal politics with international order, and how to cultivate it and how to make it compatible with the multilateral order. I therefore believe that the constructive dialogue of self-confident partners is in the long term the most successful strategy in building international relations and the promotion of multilateralism. And the rule of law indeed is a necessity for the stability of Europe and the world. So let me wish you a successful conference, and I'm looking forward to the outcome of your debates. I wish you really a lot of new ideas, original thinking, trying to really go into the depth of the affairs. As I looked at the program, there are and there will be opportunities to do this. And I really hope that the outcome of this conference will also be an important part of the puzzle, or let's say of the solving of the puzzle that we are now going through, not only at the Foreign Ministry, but let's say in a much wider perspective. Thank you very much.
I'm here from the side of organizers. This is my second year of constructing the program, so if you have any grievances, I'm the person to blame. And also my speakers, I apologize deeply for your jet lag, and I hope you can function, because we have people here who I managed to invite from Australia, from United States, even from Singapore, and of course European locations, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, Norway, just to name a few. I don't want to offend anyone. Everybody is equally important, because also the audience is important. So if you did not make it as a country into this year's program, it has no relevance to whether we consider you as priority for the Czech foreign policy. Everybody is important. I hope next year we can invite even more diverse audience. Last year we talked about rethinking the future, and one of the conclusions was that we have to move forward effectively and constructively, and it is exactly the regional and global institutions that we have to revisit and also critically analyze, because not everything works and not everything is for the great good of the national interest. There's nothing wrong about talking about national interest for a country. Everybody is, citizens are looking for the safety and stability of their neighborhood first, and then they want to, of course, collaborate. So today, I hope that we will be able to open some of the debates. We've got a program on the Balkans, Africa, Asia, which it really warms my heart that we open up to different regions, but also to Visegrad Group, our Central European context and European Union. Tomorrow we talk about security. We have a discussion about Syria. It's a very rich program, and I'm very proud because it's very difficult. I have to thank our conference service. It's actually Zdenka Kyselová is standing over there and giggling, and without her, I would not be able to create this. So that little girl over there, she's the one who organized all the flights and communicated with you under a lot of pressure. I'm not an easy person to work with. I have only 2 remarks because I'm not here to talk too much. When I reflected on our anniversary of 30 years of the Velvet Revolution, I'm the child of the socialist childhood transforming into more democratic and cosmopolitan individual. And for me, the biggest stake is that democracy is work in progress. I often go to conferences and we are blamed for being very immature and not necessarily strong enough and I guess old enough democracy to use our voices. But I believe just because we were able to go through that transformation on our own experiences, we are able to know exactly what it feels like to go to something more open and engaging. I have recently gone to a conference where they spoke about Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk's take on democracy, one of the presidents, and his statement was that it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue built on trust, and you have to genuinely want to find trust between partners to get some results among equal people and in public. So we hope that this kind of discussion, which will be recorded in some rooms, will spread the message across the world and show that even in the heart of Europe, we're able to have these very strong discussions respectfully in diverse, setting with different representatives from countries around the world. My last comment is to thank our volunteers. We've got young people here from Denmark, from Romania, from Czech Republic, and other countries, often helping us for free and guiding our speakers. It is my hope that this young generation will be inspired by this event and will be able to deal constructively without getting bogged down whether you're a female or male and should have certain roles. I hope these discussions will no longer be present, that they will be dealing in those multilateral frameworks on solutions that we all desperately need. Please enjoy these 2 days. You can always contact me or Zdenka, who's at the background, or other staff here, and we are here to help you, and I hope you can enjoy these discussions. I have the pleasure to thank, our Deputy Minister for his time. I know he's a very busy man, and he had to adjust to our timetable, which is very valuable. He wanted to start earlier. So I'm really grateful. We are very humbled to be here and for all the hospitality that we are given, and we hope we can continue with this, tradition again next year at the same maybe format with new topics and interactions.